And welcome back to the Daily Wrap, everyone. It's Potluck time. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. Heather, ladies first.
Lots going on in Pine Bush High School, which is in upstate New York, where it's National Foreign Language Week this week. And every day they've done the Pledge of Allegiance in a different language. And yesterday they did it in Arabic, and all hell broke loose at Pine Bush High School. There were tweets and there were problems, and the principal was apologizing and said it would never happen again, and we're going to totally nix this whole program. And at first I was like, this is sort of ridiculous. It seems to me that if you want to use different languages to have different people do the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag, it's an honor, and they should be. It's wonderful. But as you look into it more, first of all, what's interesting is the State Department of Education mandates the pledge has to be said in English, which shocked me. I had no idea that was the case. But second of all, at this particular school system, there was an article in the New York Times in 2013. They have huge issues and a lawsuit, a big federal lawsuit about anti-Semitism. So a lot of people who are Jewish in that community were very upset about this. A lot of people in that community apparently have family members who have died in Afghanistan. Those are the different people that were objecting. So what I found interesting about the whole story was there's a lot of debate back and forth. Some people say it absolutely should never be done in anything but English. You're in America, do it in our language. And other people who said let's be inclusive, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you put some context to it and talk about people as individuals as opposed to left and right or black and white, you understand both sides, and maybe it could have been a better conversation rather than just shutting it down.
Right. Yeah, I get the sensitivities. At the same time, first of all, they don't speak Arab in Afghanistan. So that's number one. If the people are getting upset about that, they don't know what they're talking about. I do have some sensitivity with respect to whatever the anti-Semitism issue is. I don't know, I think it's the spin you put on it. I think if you say that this is an attempt to bridge differences, it's a darn positive thing. So
I think it's a great idea, but it's a reminder, the more we want to stretch people on any issue, the more context counts. The more powerful the good idea is that stretches people, the more you got to reach them where they are if you're going to deploy it. I love this idea. Imagine hundreds of millions of Arabic speakers reciting the Pledge of Allegiance around the world because it was a symbol of what they believed in. Right? That's amazing. Yeah. It's an amazing thing. But you got to know where, when, with whom, and how, because all that matters as much as the what.
Well, and when you get the pushback, don't just say, okay, well, we're going to stop it. Have a conversation about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be at Starbucks. Have a conversation about it.
Tools. I don't want to blame for lack of courage. They don't have the conceptual tools to know that rather than making this right or wrong, good or bad, because, okay, we had a great idea here. We should trust that instinct. It turns out you folks, a lot of you, had a really remarkable sensitivity that we have to respond
Heather had
to.
the solution,
now what are we
though.
going to do?
Heather gave us a solution. We need to have it written on Starbucks cups, Arabs, Pledge of Allegiance, and talk about it with your barista.
That's the way to go.
It's a shame it's not my potluck time, because that would have been a perfect transition. So you have to wait about 10 minutes for that one. Anyway, Rick, you are up next.
For those of you keeping score on Obamacare, it's narrowing. If we can put the chart up, I brought. You notice I came with lots of charts today. Big chart day for me. The gap is narrowing. You can't see it very well, but you can see at the end how close it's getting. You go back just to July of this year, and there was a big spread.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
When you say how close it's getting and the big spread, what is getting close and what's the spread?
I was just going to say that. It's a good question, Joe. It's the top line, the red line, are people who do not approve of Obamacare. The blue line are people who do approve of Obamacare. And you can see, going back to July, it was as low of only 37% approved of the law, 53% were opposed to it. Now we're at 43% opposed, 41% in favor. This is, as you again, following that chart, this is the first time we've seen it really get that way, except for September of, I think it was last year, you saw some line crossing going on there. I think we're finally settling in on Obamacare, and I think that the fear and the anger is starting to calm down, which is important because maybe now we're getting close to the time where we can make some fixes that need to be made without some big political price to pay.
I wonder how the poll was taken. In other words, how the question was asked, because I saw this on Jimmy Kimmel one time,
Right.
where if you say, do you like Obamacare or you don't like Obamacare, the spread is
But
much
if you,
bigger.
do you like the Affordable
Do you
Care
like the
Act?
Affordable Care Act?
Awesome, I love
It's
it.
basically
Who doesn't
equal.
want Affordable Care?
So
Right.
I saw in that chart, I think it said ACA
It's
or
the
Affordable
ACA.
said
Care
ACA.
Act. So just the language. It's
But
amazing how
you're
much
still
difference.
seeing that, you're right.
Well, I'm
but
not
you're
arguing
seeing
the
distinction.
results. It's
Yeah.
just funny how when you
That is
change
true.
that one little
Makes a
word,
big
that changes
difference.
everything.
I
Heather.
think part of the change, part of the increase in approval is because there was such disapproval after the whole nightmare with the internet and the website. And so there was such a high disapproval then, and now it's kind of leveling off. What I thought was really interesting is half of the people who were polled don't even know about the subsidy case that's going before the Supreme Court, which may knock this whole thing out of
Does
the
that
world.
surprise you
Explain that in
that
15
people didn't
seconds.
know?
No.
They really don't know about it, and that's
Right.
going to change everything. Also, it'll be interesting to know not only what they think, but why they think it. Are those peaks and valleys driven by news stories,
Right.
or by more people being well served by the Affordable
Hopefully
Care
the
Act?
second.
We hope the second.
And
Let's find out.
There is, I know Heather's going to disagree, but there is mounting evidence that it is working for a lot of people.
And that will
Let's
be
find
our
out.
last word from Mr. Charts. And when we come back, more potluck for you, including my own. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm your host, Joe Concha. If you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck, where we share our favorite stories of the day. Well, I'll be going first tonight in our E-block, as we call it. So if I save up enough money to enjoy a cup of $5 coffee at Starbucks tomorrow, what question will I most likely be asked? Regular or hazelnut, sir? Tall or grande, sir? By the way, who decided in Starbucks land that a tall is actually a small? It's very confusing. Cash or credit card, sir? Or will it be, so what are your thoughts on Selma getting hosed at the Academy Awards this year? Huh? What? I just want my damn coffee. I'm tired. I'm addicted to this stuff. Where do you think these shiny red coffee cups came from? We drink it all the time here on the Daily Wrap. And when I go to Starbucks, I want two things: complete and total anonymity, which Heather, Rick, and Brad will tell you is very hard to accomplish when you're a regular part of a show like this one, a national one that reaches 14 million homes. In other words, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to grab a comfy chair, get my paper, and yes, I read a paper, not my damn phone, and only orders of thank you or here's your change, sir, is the only light noise I want to be hearing in the background. And certainly nothing about a need to disband the Ferguson Police Department or why affirmative action is a good thing. But that's what's going on at Starbucks. They're being compelled to have race conversations. These poor Bartistas, or how do you pronounce it? Baristas?
Baristas.
Right, yeah, that's the fancy word I don't use. The people that serve you. Do you think their goal in life is to work for $10 an hour at a place that marks up the true price of a cup of coffee by 900%? And now they're being asked to heal racial wounds in America. I'll bet that opening at Dunkin' Donuts down the road is looking pretty good right about now. And by the way, they have infinitely better coffee down there. So while Starbucks should be, it's true, commended for trying to do something positive, as awkward as it may be, one rule needs to be followed here. Don't ever make a server do something with customers they don't want to do, because we've literally seen this movie before.
We need to talk about your flair.
Really? I have 15 pieces on.
Well, okay, 15 is the minimum. Okay?
Okay.
Now, you know, it's up to you whether or not you want to just do the bare minimum or, well, like Brian, for example, has 37 pieces of flair on today, okay? A terrific smile.
Okay, so you want me to wear more?
Look, we want you to express yourself, okay?
Not for $8 to $10 an hour, no one should be expressing themselves. And we'll see you at Dunkin'. The Starbucks idea, Rick, I know you have some thoughts on this.
It's really simple. You know, they can write on the cup anything they want. It's okay with me. I don't care what they write. They can talk to whoever they want to talk to. But I got to tell you, if I'm in line waiting for my coffee and somebody's having a conversation that has anything to do with anything but where is my coffee, we're going to have a problem. Someone's getting hurt.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea in theory, but you can't force people to have those kinds of conversations.
It's like forcing people to vote.
Right?
Agreed, Brad.
It's something like that. Look, I'm right there with you. That's on Starbucks, but I'm the quality of the coffee at Dunkin', right? I'm not allowed to say that, but totally much better. But here's the thing. Starbucks was
We
never
getting free
primarily
donuts?
about the coffee. Starbucks was always about creating community. And the truth is that's what they're trying to do. So I think it's an interesting model. I don't think it's going to
more
work,
about Howard
but I
Schultz
think they're
wants to be
trying to create
president, don't
community.
you?
A perfect last word, and now you are the final head chef for our dessert, which will be a meal in essence.
Yeah, this one's a little heavier. It's UVA student Martise Johnson. And a lot of us have already seen those images, and unless you're living under a rock, by tomorrow, the whole world's going to see them. I actually wish Martise Johnson had been white.
Explain what happened.
And I want to say, so what happened was he tried to get into a bar. He is underage. They claim, try to use a fake ID. Alcoholic beverage control cops hustled him away from the doorway, outside onto the bricks. He went down hard, big gash, 10 stitches in his head. Here's what we know. He didn't do anything violent. The charges against him were obstruction without violence or force. The reason I wish he was white is we're going to lose the thread here if we make this about race. What this is about is unnecessary violence. And that's what we're going to have to address. There are plenty of race issues to go after, but we were going to make a terrible mistake if this one's thought of as about race. Most cops don't make that mistake, but clearly this is a wake-up call. If a good kid, and by the way, Google him, watch what he said to the audience while he came back from the hospital and saying to them, right? Just respect each other because we're all one here.
Yeah.
I mean, they picked the wrong kid to beat on because this kid's a star.
Yeah.
But can I, Brad, just to let you know, there's a woman named Elizabeth Daly who sued the same cops, the ABC they're called, because she too
Had a problem
with them, and she's a young white girl.
Right.
So you're right, it's not about race, it's more about maybe a problem with that particular
There's
force.
a problem with these
This
force,
is
and
gonna
I get
be-
it. Underage
yeah.
drinking is dangerous and it's deadly for the kids, but that's not a justification to do takedowns like this kid is a violent terrorist. He did a stupid thing, an illegal thing, shouldn't be in the bar.
That we've all
but
done.
That can't happen.
And you're so right. I mean, not only was he remarkably well spoken, but they interviewed some of his friends. All of
They're
them
almost as good.
superstars,
Yeah.
you know. And they, as you said, they picked on the wrong kid. It's going to really hurt them.
Wow. Well, it certainly makes you want to root for the University of Virginia in the NCAA March Madness. There seems to be some good people there down in Charlottesville, and besides, I have them going to the finals where they will lose to Arizona or something. Anyway, more yay or nay when we come back. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV.